For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Due Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Due Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Due Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
Well, and thank you for joining me this morning. I am here solo this morning with Beyond716 out this week, but we still did want to talk about hockey and talk about the Sabres and everything that's going on. So welcome into another edition of Due's Hockey Hotline. I am your host, Matt Diegert. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Diegert. Also, follow us on Due Champions all over social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. And if you missed it last night, we actually did do our first gaming stream last night. Along with that, we do have a giveaway going for all of our Bills fans out there. Just follow us on Twitter at Due Champions for a chance to win the authentic signed Christian Benford jersey. Also, with that, if we do reach 500 subscribers on YouTube, we will also be doing another giveaway on draft night as well, along with the jersey. With that being said, I did want to talk about some Sabres stuff this morning. I don't know if I'm going to go the full hour being by myself, but you never know. I mean, it could be a 2-hour show. So with that being said, let's kind of get into it here. The Sabres this week have been playing well. They did stumble a little bit on Thursday night against Columbus, but they did beat the Hurricanes 3-0. Along with getting eliminated that night as well, because the Montreal Canadiens had won. But you can't really go through a season with a 13-game losing streak and expect to make the playoffs. They did put a valiant effort in at the end of the season to string together some wins. They do have a good home record in their last 17 games. I think they were like 15-2. I'd have to double check that, 15-3, something like that. But with that being said, I mean, I'm going to go through here and talk about some free agents stuff that they have coming up, RFAs, UFAs, and see where we think that the offseason might go. And we will get it when Brian comes back. We will get into that a little bit deeper as far as draft talk goes. But I did want to touch on a couple of things with the way that they've been playing. And one of the things that I did enjoy seeing the fight out of not actual like fight, but like the heart out of Dahlin at the end of the game the other night. I did enjoy the press conference after him talking about players talking about goaltending and things like that, where they need to be better. I don't know if some fans considered it shots being taken. I think it was more accountability having to be taken on this team. Yes, you have a bunch of young kids on here with a smattering of veterans in on the team as well. But you can't have a goaltender have an 889 save percentage and expect to make the playoffs and that be your main goaltender. James Reimer has stood up and played very well at 35 years old, and had his 33rd shutout or 32nd shutout of his career the other night against the Hurricanes. Played very, very well. Team in front of him played very, very well. And all in all, I mean, since the trade deadline, it's been a pretty good showing from the team, at least from an eye test standpoint. Or from seeing it with your eyes. But with that being said, I mean, I just, there's still things that need to be fixed on this team. We can't take the last 10, 12, 15 games and, hope that what they've done has improved this team, because Kevin Adams has some work to do in the offseason to continue improving this team. They are the second youngest team in the NHL, and they still have are now going to be going on are in a 14-year playoff drought. Could potentially be 15 if they don't do things to improve the team. But real quickly, a couple of things. Tage Thompson has 44 goals this year. He's really come on as of late, to really, look like the player he was a couple years ago. Alex Tuch has a chance to exceed his career high of 36 goals. He has 34 right now. JJ Peterka at 25, Zucker at 21. Ryan McLeod just passed the 50-point mark, which, for somebody who wasn't here playing that they didn't potentially see in their future, and one of the good things that Kevin Adams has done is bring in Ryan McLeod for Matthew Savoy, which was actually a really good move because now it gives you, depending on what happens in the off season, if they decide to go after like a player like a Mitch Marner or anything like that, they can go on the top line to play with Tage Thompson and have either Yuri Kulik or or McLeod or Josh Norris on that top line as the top line center. If they don't go out and acquire a top line center, then I really, I feel okay with that if they were to add a player like a Mitch Marner. But who, had they had a little bit better, my whole thing is the goaltending is really the issue for this team. I've said it before on the show. It's become really an outlier. That 3-month span for UPL that he was actually good and looked like he was showing, and now he has time to improve. Obviously time is a huge thing with this team because they are, if they don't have a good season next year, they're on a 15-year playoff drought. But right now they're on 14. And if UPL doesn't have a good year or they don't find the consistency in goal, then they might be out for a 15th year. And that's really where we are because looking at the statistics and everything like that. I mean, Tage Thompson has 71 points. Tuch has 63. Peterka has 63. Zucker 51. McLeod 50. So I mean, your top third, a third of your players with 50 or more points, not counting anybody on defense. Dahlin has 64 points. Byram has 38 himself. But I mean, there's a lot of players that are on this team that are playing. I wouldn't say at their top level, but there is improvement that can still be made, but they're playing well enough to have, if they had more consistent goaltending this year, they would have been able to end the playoff drought this year, based on standings. I mean, based on points, based on things like that, because 92 points, I think 90 or 92 points is going to get you in the playoffs this year. And the Sabres are going to end up with anywhere, 82 to 84 points, depending on how their last 4 games go here. I really think that they would have been able to, had they had that more consistent goaltending, they would have been able to, end the playoff drought with the way that the wild card was going. And before the 13 game playoff drought, they were third place in the Atlantic, fighting for second. And it's just, had Kevin Adams, saw that and potentially made a move, whether it was just, going and getting a player like a Fabry or, picking up one of the guys from, picking up one of the guys from that was on waivers that potentially could have helped this team come out of that playoff drought is really something that was a little bit of malpractice on Kevin Adams' part that he really should have taken advantage of. You're not going out and trading somebody, so you're not giving up picks. You're not giving up a player that's on the roster. It's somebody you could have taken a chance on and gone out and really gotten something for this team to help improve. I I mean, I'll always be a Sabres fan. There isn't anything that can, obviously, short of them moving the team, there isn't anything that this team can do to not make me a fan. But have I not been doing this show all year, it might have been, I might have stopped watching back after the 13 game playoff or the 13 game losing streak. You never know. But, I really just I think there's a lot of good that came from this team this year. They did re-sign Jason Zucker. They did re-sign Jordan Greenway. Those guys could be, their veteran presence could prove to be an integral part this year or next year moving forward, and the following year moving forward to getting these guys over the hump and into the playoffs, because those are the type of players that you need in those type of roles that they're playing right now. To for somebody like a Jason Zucker to play 69 games and have 51 points, 21 goals, 30 assists. He was a +4. I mean, that's something that, and he was averaging 15-59, almost 16 minutes on ice per game, and he chipped in 11 power play goals and 9 power play assists. So I mean, that's kind of like that solidifying force that they kind of need. But that's the other thing though too, is they have to improve. They have to improve the power play and the special teams, penalty kill. Those two things specifically, so that you can't go like at the beginning of the season they were 0 for 22 before they scored a goal on the power play, and that's horrible. I mean, we can't do that. We can't be sitting here doing that. So, we can't be sitting here doing that and expecting, this team to pull themselves out of anywhere, and, maybe this year was a good learning experience for the guys on the ice, the players on the ice. And unfortunately that's really where we're sitting right now. Is we're sitting in another, in a playoff drought of 14 years. And I hate keeping to harp on that, but I mean, it's this playoff drought almost could get a driver's license at this point. I mean, it's coming down to it. And, you're going to start to lose generations of fans. Like, my niece loves to watch the Sabres with me, but it's she doesn't want to go to games, and she doesn't, and I can't, first and foremost, secondly, let me take a second here. Congratulations to Jeff Skinner. Speaking of former Sabres, that was one of her favorite players, but congratulations to Jeff Skinner finally getting into the playoffs for his first time in his career. It'll be interesting to see how well he does in Edmonton in the playoffs with them. So, let's see if they can't get back to the Stanley Cup Finals themselves. And we'll definitely see how that goes. But getting back to the Sabres here, I would have liked to see them replace that $7.5 million with Jeff Skinner. I would have liked to see them replace his goals. I would have liked to replace what he did on the ice. And if there was no plan in place, I truly am of the mind they should have held on to him to see. Even though he might not have been as good as people wanted him on the defensive side, I think his goal scoring would have outweighed the defensive side of the puck for him specifically, because you basically had $7.5 million just sitting there that could have been used on somebody else, or even keeping Jeff Skinner here rather than just buying him out and potentially trying to get over the hump, because this team needed to put goals in pucks in the net because the goaltending wasn't there. So they need to have as much scoring on a nightly basis as they possibly could, because for whatever reason they were not improving on the defensive side in net. So and I've been of the mind, I was a UPL fan a couple years ago. And then he had, that horrible beginning of the season last year, and then had that great stretch. And I'm like, okay, maybe because he looked like he was starting to see the puck. He was playing big. He was playing, what a starting caliber NHL goaltender was starting to look like. But in the end, he came out this year and you had a horrible save percentage. We here in Buffalo are so used to having good goaltending between Hasek and Ryan Miller, and even during the drought years, Tim Murray traded away Yaroslav Halak because he was playing too well in net after they had acquired him to tank. But that's a whole different discussion for a different part of the show. I truly am one of the people that is, I think that the Tim Murray tanking kind of set this franchise back, especially now that we don't have a Jack Eichel or a Sam Reinhart or any of those guys still on this team performing for this team. They're playing elsewhere, and Jack Eichel's become one of the best two-way players in hockey. Not only scoring goals, but also playing very well in his own defensive end. And I get it. They were worried about the neck and things like that, but like I said, that's a discussion for a different day. With that being said, we are here now. We're in that 14-year playoff drought now, officially, that we got eliminated on Tuesday night. With that sector of the games, with them playing well, you would have liked to see them, figure it out earlier in the year. And again, I really do, I hate harping on it, but I really do feel like it comes down to, consistent goaltending. So let's take a look here. I'm gonna go through this here real quickly. We have, it looks like the Sabres have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 UFAs, and the rest are RFAs. And it looks like Eric Brandstrom is a UFA, who I'm personally, I think that they should try and keep in some way, shape, or form. James Reimer, I said he was 35 earlier. He's actually 37. I thought he was 35. That's my bad. But he's an RFA or a UFA. I would like to see them, potentially, offer him a spot to come back and compete. Because if I personally think that Devin Levi needs another year of seasoning in the AHL, and coming up and playing spot duty when needed. And I think that they need to have like a goaltender. And I really do think they need to move off of UPL and go get a goaltender like a Thatcher Demko or somebody of that has played well in the past consistently. And, seeming to have, whatever issues he's had, and see if those are behind him, and potentially have him and, James Reimer, as your starter and backup to try and get, over the hump. But your RFAs this year are Bowen Byram, Ryan McLeod, Jack Quinn, Devin Levi, Ryan Johnson, Kisikoff, Bennett MacArthur, JJ Paterka, who's the big one. I think that he's going to end up getting that 7 or 8 year deal with the Buffalo Sabres. Probably anywhere between $6 and $8 million. I think he's earned it. I think he's on an upward trajectory and especially if you pair him with, on that top line, even if you don't go get a player like a Mitch Marner, if you continue to have him on that top line with a Tage Thompson and a Josh Norris, I think that he's going to be able to continue to excel and continue to flourish. Especially like this year, he's got 63 points. He is fourth on the team. Yes, fourth on the team. In that spot there, he is a ±0. He's had 5 power play goals and 10 assists on the power play. So I think that he's got that upward trajectory. I think he could potentially be anywhere from a 75 to 85 point per season type of player, which you may need depending on where he fits in, depending on what they do during the summer. Because if they were to be in on a Mitch Marner or a similar player to that, he could definitely fit better on maybe on a second line with Kulik and Jack Quinn, and continue to flourish there in that second line role, having a top line of Mitch Marner, Josh Norris, and Tage Thompson on continuing to be on the wing. Excuse me. Continuing from there, like I said, Brandstrom is a UFA. Tyson Kozak is an RFA. JBD, Jacob Bernard Docker, who I think has played very, very well since coming over. I think he's been a calming force for Owen Power, being able to play that type of role where he just sits back. He does have a little bit of puck moving skills and things like that, but I think he's playing very well with Owen Power. Not to say that I don't want to see them try and improve Owen Power's defensive partner, but I think that we could be doing a lot or be in a lot worse position than a JBD on the defensive side there on that second pairing defense with Owen Power. You also have Jake Rathbone, Brett Murray, and then Lucas Rosek. So those are your guys. Those are your RFAs and your UFAs for the Sabres. Now, the one thing I did want to look at here as well is the goaltending throughout the NHL here. Now, with that being said, I mean, you have somebody like a Ville Husso, who you could potentially bring in, see if he would work. Jake Ottinger, I know he's an RFA. You could always put a offer sheet, even though they're not typically used. But you could always go get a Vitek Vanacek or Ilya Samsonov, or a player like that Capo Kakinen. Any of these guys that potentially have played well in the past. Even somebody like somebody that's like kind of a Sabres killer himself is Alex Lyon. Somebody like that you could potentially throw in there and might be a calming force in the back end to go along with a James Reimer if you were to bring him back to continue playing in goal. And I truly do believe that once they get the consistency in net figured out, because we most of us do believe that Devin Levi is going to be the future of goaltender of this team, the way he's played in the AHL, the way he played that short little stretch back in 2022 when he came in, because we kind of see as he's had the amount of games that he's played and the consistency of playing, he's able to play very, very well and play up to his level. And sometimes those players, because you do see it's very, very rare where a goaltender starts at 18, 19, 20 years old and comes in and is a superstar right away. You only have a few instances of that. And, as good as somebody like a Patrick Waugh was when he came in, he was still giving up he was giving up goals here and there that were, made him look inconsistent. And like even a Marty Brodeur, who was 18 when he came in the league, 19 when he came in the league, those type of players, they don't come around Marc-Andre Fleury, they don't come around very often. And you typically start to see goaltenders start to really come into their own at 24, 25, 26 years old, because they have that game behind them. Then they have those games behind them, the consistency of playing night in and night out, where the coach starts to trust them and they have that confidence to be able to go out and stop the puck from going in the net on a nightly basis. I wanted to look up Devin Levi's stats for this year for the AHL. Um, so just bear with me here real quick while I do pull this up, because I think it's very important to know what he's doing in the AHL. I mean, he's playing very, very well. He's got a 2.23 goals against average and a 917 save percentage, which is pretty good. I mean, I wish that it was a little bit better, but I mean, if he was playing that way in the NHL, nobody's going to complain about a 2.23 goals against or a 917 save percentage, especially if the Sabres continue to allow the amount of shots that they have go to the net go at the net. They have been getting better all year, blocking shots and putting themselves into harm's way to block those shots. So hopefully they can bring that down, and you would potentially see that save percentage go up. But he's also 24-12-6 win-loss tie record for Devin Levi. So that's also something too that we have to take into account is he's getting the nightly help when he does play in net, as far as he's making those timely saves, and he's also getting the help on the offensive side to help to win these games. So with that being said, I really think that a lot of us are thinking that he's the goaltender of the future, but I really think that he needs one more year in the AHL of that consistent play before he does come up into the NHL and take those licks in the NHL, because at this point right now, we sit here and say 14-year playoff drought and everything like that. Somebody like a Levi doesn't need that on his shoulders to try and get out of that playoff drought on a nightly basis, to have to worry about that, because whether he's thinking about it or not, that stuff does, as a player, does creep into your head, and kind of puts a lot of pressure on somebody that hasn't only been here 2 years with the Buffalo Sabres and has only technically been here with the Sabres for 15 games, 20 games, of the 14-year playoff drought. You would have willing to see him take those licks this year in the NHL. I mean, this upcoming year, rather than, because now you're not talking about a 14-year playoff drought. They had made the playoffs, but they didn't. And at this point right now, they're not in a position to basically take time off and try and improve a team on a nightly basis. So I really think signing one of these goaltenders, the free agent goaltenders, and moving off of UPL is probably the best solution at this point right now. And that's, if they bring in another, if they do allow Lindy Ruff to get rid of the staff that's on in place right now and go get his own guys and potentially bring in a better goaltending coach. Maybe the goaltending coach can help UPL not overcommit on things and not play such a small game of goalie, because a lot of times you see him going forward and making himself small when you need to make yourself big as a goaltender to fill up the entire net. That's why that they come out and cut down angles and things like that. But when he comes across and cuts down angles, we saw it the other night on one of the goals. I think it was against Boston, where he put himself out completely out of the picture, and they just the other team tapped it into the net with him completely leaving an empty net, rather than being in position to slide across and be able to do that. So I really do think that I really do think that that's one of the things that needs to improve for the Sabres is the consistency in goal. And I'm going to keep harping on it until it gets better. Not that I can do anything personally about it, but I mean, I really do think that that's one of the major things that needs to get better. And I think the only way that you're going to be able to do that at this point is to do something similar to what you did with Dylan Cousins, whether it's making a hockey trade, whether it's, going and get what you can for UPL, because we saw it with the Senators. their goaltending wasn't up to par. They went out and acquired Linus Ullmark, and now are in a position where they have 92 points, and now are in a wild card, and now are at least in the playoffs, into a spot where that they can potentially, continue to grow and continue to get better throughout the playoffs. Because all you got to do, like, truly, it's the main thing, and we've seen it multiple times. With Boston a couple years ago, best team that's ever, their team that had, what was it, 135 points or something ridiculous. They were one of the best teams to ever be on the ice, and lost in the first round. Anything can happen based on the matchup and what's going on that way. Like, one of the things I heard on Twitter all week is, Florida's, purposely losing, which I think is ridiculous, but Florida's purposely losing games so they can get a lower seed to play, to match themselves up better. But, stupid things get said all the time. So, but all you got to do is get in, and, we saw it in 05, 06. The Sabres were sixth, and they ended up almost, had they not lost Tim Connolly against the Senators, had they not lost, Jay McKee and every single one of their defensemen against Carolina, that team is probably going to and winning a Stanley Cup. But injuries happen and that type of stuff. But you never know what's going to happen once you get in. Just get into the dance, and that's really what it comes down to. And that's really what needs to happen for this team, is they need to break that drought and just get into the playoffs. Those are the things that I really, I would like to see a better third pair defenseman to kind of round that out, whether that's dropping JBD down one and playing with a Connor Clifton, or because I think that Bowen Byram needs to stay with Rasmus Dahlin, unless you are able to go out and get that other defenseman to play with Ras. But I really do think that that's where we are right now with this team, is they need to. I think it needs to be Rasmus Dahlin and then Owen Byram. If you can improve Owen Power's defensive pairing, great. If not, I think that JBD can potentially be a calming force there for him. And then I think that you gotta find somebody to go with Connor Clifton, whether that is a Jacob Bryson or somebody of that nature. I saw it this week. I think it was Joe Marino, the Sabres Joe Marino, not Locked On Bills Joe Marino. I think he had the idea of bringing in somebody like a Brent Burns to just kind of be that savvy veteran back there that can teach these guys how to play a little bit better, and teach them how to play the game right and things like that. I mean, you also have, not that I don't think Florida's going to let him go, but Aaron Ekblad. You go get an Aaron Ekblad. Yeah, he might cost a little bit. You might be putting half your cap space into your defense, but the defensive, you have the guys on the offensive side that can put the puck in the net. If you fix the goaltending and you fix the defense, you could potentially have yourself a good hockey team, because you have those guys sitting back and being able to sit back and play well on the defensive side of the ice, and push the play forward to some of these better offensive guys like your JJ Peterka, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch. You have those guys and that can continue to move the puck forward and keep it out of your zone and block these shots and clear guys away from the net. Because that could also be something too that we've seen kind of all years. They allow these guys to get in front of your goaltender. And maybe that's something that can help somebody like a UPL get fixed as well, is get a lot of these guys out from in front of him so he can see the puck. You're not, it's the NHL. You're not going to see the puck every single shot, but if you give him the best chance with some of these guys that are able to move these players out from in front of him, then you can potentially, have a better view for him of him finding the puck. But I mean, you have Brent Burns, you have Aaron Ekblad, you have Provorov, Ryan Lindgren, Neil Pionk, Jeff Petrie is 38 years old. He could be somebody that, or will be 38 next year or next season. He's potentially somebody that could be that type of Brent Burns type calming force back there for them. Even like an Alec Martinez, or even like if Matt Grzelcyk from Pittsburgh, like somebody like that. Dante Fabro, he's a UFA this year. You go get somebody like him. You could potentially fix your defense, and you could potentially fix your goaltending in one off season, and set yourself up for a good run at it next year, before anything else were to happen with this team. So, the Sabres have 4 games left in the year. I'd like to see them try and win them all. I'm not of the mind, got to go get a better draft pick, because I truly think that what they need to do is, I think that they need to, if they're not going to go sign a player like a Mitch Marner, or any of the higher end centers that are out there to play on that top line, because I think that they, not that I know anything or anything like that, but I think that they feel good about Josh Norris playing that top 1C role. Whether he is there or not, I think that he is probably the answer there next year. But I mean, you can go get a player like a John Tavares and fit him in as your second or third line center. Claude Giroux, who's 38 years old, who knows if he's going to retire or play another year or anything like that. Even a Mikael Granlund or go sign a Sam Bennett. Any of those guys, if you're not going to go after any of those guys, I think that you really need to take that first round pick, and I think you need to package it with either a player or some other picks, and go make another hockey trade and go get a 1C, a 1C player that's going to improve the spine, because I truly do think Tage Thompson needs to stay on the wing. I think that, I don't want to say it's too much for him to be able to, play defense and also try and score, but I think that he's better on the wing, where he's getting set up, rather than him having to drive the play all the time. I think that he's able to drive the play enough on the wing where he's able to continue moving forward and continue to, move the puck around, because I'd rather see him on the wing and sit in the spot where, he can use his wingspan and use his shot, much like he does on the power play, but also use his hands to get himself into better positions. And I think he does that better from the wing than he does from a center point of view. So we'll definitely see how that ends up going for them moving into next year. Over the summer, seeing if they make any improvements, seeing what they draft. And like I said, Beyond and myself will be going through the draft a little bit more in depth over the coming weeks when he gets back and everything else. So with that being said, let me touch on our sponsors real quick, and I'll be right back.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Due Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Due Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Due Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right. Again, thank you to all our sponsors that sponsor the network, Due Champions. Definitely check us out. We have great shows. Wednesday nights we have Coast to Coast. Thursdays we have Chasing Data. Fridays we have our gaming show where Pat talks about sports, Sabres, Bills, everything, while he also is playing Madden, and he's going to have some great giveaways. He's going to have some great guests as he plays some ranked Madden players, some ranked guys, also potentially playing some Bills players throughout the year and things like that. And then also our show Hockey Hotline every Saturday, and then Third and Manageable on Saturday nights, and then the Buffalo Blueprint on Sunday nights as well. Also, follow us at Due Champions on Twitter and all of our social medias. But to enter the giveaway that we have for the Christian Benford jersey, go to Due Champions on Twitter. Like and follow us on Twitter. And then if we reach our 500 subscribers on YouTube, we will also be doing another giveaway on draft night along with the Christian Benford jersey as well. We have a couple of great things planned for that night as well, so definitely tune in for that on the 24th. If you are a football fan as well, I know there is a little discourse between Sabres and Bills fans sometimes, but being from Buffalo and it's always they've always both been my teams personally. So I'm not in that group. So if you're a Sabres fan, I hope you are a Bills fan as well, and vice versa. So with that being said, go follow us on Due Champions all across social media. With that being said, getting back into the Buffalo Sabres here. Again, they have 4 games left. They play the Panthers tonight at 6 p.m. In Florida, and then they also have another Florida game playing the Lightning tomorrow night as well. They also play the Leafs one more time this year, 7 p.m. home, and then they play on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, they play the Philadelphia Flyers to end the season. Hopefully, they can get at least 2 wins out of that. I would love to see them get win all 4. I'm not one of the ones that's like, oh, they got to lose. I'd rather see them go into next season on a high note rather than lose all 4 games and continue the losing pattern of this team that we've seen. Because if they finish on a high note and they're able to push into next year, continuing to win, then they, that mindset starts to snowball, and they start to play better game in and game out, and get to where they were before the 13-game losing streak, and then also here at the end of the season, what they've been doing at the end of the season. They've made it very hard on teams to come into Buffalo and play in Buffalo this year specifically, especially the last, I think, 20 games. But yeah, I'm really of the mind that I think that the major things that I want people to start looking at is ways that this team can improve the goaltending, because it really does seem like UPL is not the answer. Brian Beyond716, he was kind of against me all year, and then he sent me a text the other day. He goes, "You're right." So he's starting to come over to my side a little bit, thinking that we need to potentially upgrade the goaltending. And there's a lot of different ways to upgrade goaltending. Now, it doesn't have to be trading UPL. It truly doesn't. You can allow Lindy Ruff to go bring in his own staff, whether that's bringing in goaltending coach and bringing in power play specialists and things like that. Let Lindy Ruff go get his own coaching staff and let him make a real run at this thing and continue to move forward with this team rather than fall backwards a little bit. Because Lindy, I truly think that Lindy did this out of the competitive spirit, and I don't want to say goodness of his heart because he's getting paid a lot of money to coach the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, that let's be serious here. But I think that the competitive spirit to turn this team around, to make Buffalo a winner again, because it's been 14 years of just missing the playoffs and not playing meaningful hockey. A lot of years, January shows up and the Sabres are out of the playoffs already. You know, it didn't happen this year. They didn't get eliminated until Tuesday this year. But after that 13 game losing streak, it was like this we're done. Like there's no coming back from this unless they put together, you know, a 13 game winning streak where they get 13 they get all 26 points and everything, you know, where they're not losing in an overtime or anything like that. But I really wish they would have fought a little bit harder during that 13 game losing streak to get at least, like, let's be serious. If they get 6 of those loser points, like, you're talking the Buffalo Sabres are still at now at 82 points. Had they gotten just 6 of those games that turned into loser points, they don't blow the lead against Colorado twice. They don't, you know, do anything like that. Like both times that they had a 4-0 lead against Colorado, and you know that's 3 points right there. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that they can improve on, and I get they're a young team, but at some point that has to stop being an excuse for this team. And they just have to continue moving forward, and they have to continue fighting game in and game out. It's a long season, and it's not like the NFL where you lose 1 week to a division opponent. That's one of 17 games that you lost. There's not a lot of time to make up that one loss. In the NHL, you have 82 games. You go out and fight in a game and play your game, and you just have bad puck luck that night. Okay, you have 81 more games. You have 77 more games. You have 55 more games. If those bad games don't creep in and they don't happen, because everybody's going to have a bad game here or there. It happens. You know, we're all the players. We also have to remember are human beings as well. They do have bad games and off nights and things like that. But all I'm saying is if you go in and you minimize those mistakes and you start playing shift by shift, period by period, game by game, by the end of it, as you start to build that, you're going to continue building that into wins, and you're going to continue to build that into a winning season by the end of it. So, you know, as I sit here, I say this as a fan, I say this as a content creator. You know, I'm not the one doing it on the ice. I hope that the team really does look inward this year, because I personally don't think a lot of changes are coming. I don't think you're probably not going to see a director of hockey operations while Kevin Adams is here. If you have one more bad season, I fully expect Kevin Adams to be gone the following year. I fully expect that Lindy Ruff will probably end up bringing in, or Terry Pagula will end up bringing in a director of hockey operations to potentially find that general manager that can work under the director of hockey operations. I expect that to happen the following year, but we're not there yet. I think that if Kevin Adams and the Buffalo Sabres and the players and everybody looks at themselves in the mirror and talks to themselves in the mirror 6 inches in front of the mirror and literally says, this is not going to end, or this is not going to go on one more year, I think that they're going to be able to put together a good roster next year. I think they're going to be able to figure out what potentially, now barring injuries, I get that, and it still could cost Kevin Adams, Lindy Ruff their job with injuries and things like that. But I think that if they can minimize injuries and minimize risk and put a good product on the ice, and get over that hump and get into the playoffs. And, because you see it all the time. You see a team go from, worst to first, worst to, in the playoffs all the time. 8 teams have to make it. You need to, in the Eastern Conference, 8 teams need make it in the Eastern Conference. You have to continue to push towards that. And that's really where I'm at. I want to be optimistic with this team going into hopefully what isn't Kevin Adams' last year, as much as I want to see him dismissed as the general manager. Like, if you've watched this show at all, I think that there's better general managers out there. I think there's better people out there that can come in and run this team. But the way that everything's sitting right now, if, like I said, and I know it's probably a minimal chance that he gets fired or let go this year, but if he does get let go, then I fully expect to see the Sabres make the playoffs next year. But I would like to see everything kind of stay the same and, improve what they're improving on and continue to move forward. Because if we're gonna be serious, I don't think that Terry Pegula is going to let Kevin Adams go. I really don't expect that to happen. So let's be optimistic. Let's hope that during the summer they make some moves, whether it's trades, free agent. Hopefully they're in on the big fish in Mitch Marner. Hopefully he makes free agency rather than going back to the Leafs. But if you're able to get a player like that to come in here and play on your top line, I think that improves your chances as well. I really think, personally, I think that they need to either improve the staff and let Lindy Ruff pick his own guys, or what would eventually hopefully help UPL, or go get rid of UPL and make that hockey type trade and re-sign James Reimer, let Devin Levi sit in the minors for another year, coming up for spot duty and things like that, so he can continue to, his growth pattern. But with that being said, I really, I'm hoping that this is an improvement for the Buffalo Sabres, moving forward. Like I said, coming up, like I said earlier in the show, Alex Tuch, he has a chance over the next 4 games to exceed his goal total, his career goal total. That he's another player that I think that needs to, I think that they need to seriously consider re-signing this offseason. He's only got 1 year left after this year, the 2024-25 offseason or season. I think that they need to continue to try and re-sign him. Definitely need to re-sign JJ Peterka. Definitely need to. I think that you're starting to see Jack Quinn. Like I said earlier in the year, I think that we needed to wait on Jack Quinn because his development kind of got reset with the injuries last year, and you're kind of seeing where he was 2 years ago in 2022. You're starting to see that this year and a little bit more developed, and I think that he's starting to find his shot again. I think he's starting to find his way on the ice and find out. I think that you can kind of see the game slowing down a little bit for him. So hopefully he has a good summer himself, and I hope that Lindy Ruff leaves Tage Thompson on the wing. I really want them to kind of leave everything alone and add to what they have, along with making that change in net and trying to get that consistency from a netminder that can play. And that's the thing. They don't have to play their 55 games. You don't have to find that, Ryan Miller, Marty Brodeur, type guy that's going to play 45 to 55 games a year. You can do it kind of like how the Bruins did, where they had Allmark and Swayman and they played them, every other night or every couple of nights, and go with the hot hand. Because sometimes that's what has to happen for, on the ice, is you have to go with the hot hand in net, so that, because if they're on that hot streak, then they're seeing they're seeing the puck meaning they're making the saves that they need to be making at the times that they need to make. And we all know pucks are going to go into the net. We know that. Not every game is going to be a shutout. Even with Dominik Hasek, every game was, he gave up 1, 2, 3 goals. Even though he was very good, elite, best of all time goaltender, you're always going to have a puck go in the net. 99% of the time, you're going to have a puck go in the net. So if you can minimize the amount of goals that go in, pucks that hit the back of the net, then you're going to be in a much better place. And I really think that's the point that I wanted to get across today, is that needs to improve and continue to improve. And I think I've given everybody a couple different ways that can improve, whether it's trading, whether it's bringing in a better goaltender coach and moving forward. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Join me tonight on Third and Manageable tonight with my co-host, Student Body Right. We do have Kentley Platt on tonight as we talk about the Bills. And don't forget to enter the giveaway on our social media, on Twitter, and also give us a like and subscribe on YouTube so we can continue bringing you great content here. And again, thank you to all of our sponsors. I will be back next Saturday, and Beyond716 will be back to join me, so I don't have to do all the talking for another hour, and you don't have to listen to my raspy voice here. So with that being said, thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody that joined me, and